Streaming. Begin countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we are live. Welcome to the Escape Podcast, where we cover everything from entertainment, sci-fi, comics, action figures, pop culture, and everything nerdy. So,
Indeed.
So, my name is Nick.
And I am Adam, and gangsta, that's what they selling. It's all about a salary. It's all about reality.
And we sing. So there's that. Or no, that's a rap.
Heck yeah. Ice Cube, baby.
So I didn't know that was happening. So you're welcome. Adam, we are reviewing The Batman. We were going to do it last night. We had some technical difficulties, so we're doing it tonight. And not to put anything over the top, but you made a proclamation last night and you slept on it. So you've seen The Batman 3 times. I've seen it twice. And you made the proclamation of what?
I said it was this is the words that I used after seeing it for the third time. I said, well, I'm convinced this is the greatest Batman movie ever made.
Yeah, even like my brother's not a comic book guy. He does not he's more pop culture. So if it's, hey, it's popular, go check it out. Or, if he hears good things, he'll go check it out. But he's like, dude, people are saying it's better than The Dark Knight. I was like, not going to say they're wrong, but I was like, but it's really, really freaking good and you should go check it out. So it's getting around.
That's why I didn't have to marinate like on that overnight. I saw the thing 3 times. I saw it the night before, saw it that afternoon before, and then I saw it that night. And I just had time to say, okay, this is what's happening next. This is what's coming next. And it was a hard, for a first world problem, it was a hard choice to say. But at the end of the day, even if I didn't, this is what I came to the conclusion of. If I didn't want to say, just out of my own love for The Dark Knight, which isn't the case, because I love both of the movies, but if I didn't want to say that it's better than The Dark Knight, I'd have to. And only on these grounds, not because of performances, but because of it striking so damn close to home as a Batman movie. That's what it is. The closest thing we had ever gotten was Batman Begins and The Dark Knight.
Which is funny because also the other thing you said, because we saw it twice yesterday, and the thing you kept bringing up is that's almost not even a comic book movie. If you took away certain elements, that just would have been a really awesome, thrilling, mystery crime drama.
Yeah, it's not a comic book movie in the sense of how they make them at all. That's where I was kind of. It's a comic book movie in terms of they pulled from comic books. Everything they pulled from was from the comic books. There was not one like Batman kind of fact or whatever factoid in there, or plot point in there that wasn't pulled from the comic books. But what I'm saying is, arguably, you can say that although the DCEU, the extended cinematic universe, and the MCU have different approaches to making movies, you can say that they're both comic book movies, and it's okay to call one a comic book movie, one and the other a comic book movie. This is not on that formula. So, like, I was on the phone with my buddy Dave today, and his son, he's got a cool mom. She showed him scary movies, all that kind of stuff, and and a lot like I was shown by my sister. And he says, "Yeah, I want to take my son to see it next week." And I went, and I flinched. I was like,
and that was that
Sorry,
is one
guys.
of the things I did mention to my brother because he's got little kids. I was like, not for little ones.
Yeah, and I said maybe it depends on how ready you think he is for it. I mean, I get it. You showed him like scary movies and stuff like that, but even scary movies can have like this level of levity that you can say that's not real, and all this. This is sick. Some of this is sick, like very sick-minded, like along the lines of the Joker, Silence of the Lambs, Seven.
Yeah, well, it almost reminds me, almost to the extent of like, yeah, like you said, there's almost no levity. Like when I was watching Battlestar Galactica, there's 4 seasons of this show. There's not an ounce of levity in the show. You know why? Because the humans are fighting for their lives and they're being chased by robots that are trying to kill them. So
Yeah, like well, yeah.
it takes that tone the entire time, and that's kind of I was like, so when you speak of like levity, I was like, I'd always kind of compare it to that because even if you watch like Star Trek or whatever, there was always a few episodes here and there that had levity and yada yada yada. But like when you take the source material seriously and you go, oh no, this is the Dark Knight living in a dark city. It really, yeah, I agree. There's, I like I said, I told my brother, yeah, not for little ones. Don't, the most levity you're going to get in the movie is, a little bit of spoiler, thumb drive. That's the funniest part of the movie.
That's it. Yeah.
And if you've seen the movie or when you see the movie, you'll understand what I'm talking about.
And this is gonna be a spoiler.
Right. But we're not going to go heavy in the spoiler chat. We're going to
But
go
I
around.
do want to say something about the thumb drive thing because you brought it up. So when he says thumb drive, he doesn't say it either, though, with a level of like smirk or quick or whatever. He actually looks a little annoyed.
Right.
He's like, thumb drive, kind of a,
Yeah.
That's what I'm like. It's like, yeah, that's some levity, but it's not.
There ain't a whole lot. And that's one of the things where the question,
Sorry, guys. Oof.
the real question of this movie is, how dark can you go? And as it turns out, pretty freaking dark.
It was,
but it was the right level.
I will say it got pretty bright at the end, though.
Yes, and let's get into it. So a little bit. So I just wanted to talk about that. So I was not expecting that statement from Adam last night because you're always my go-to when it comes to comic or when it comes to Batman. And I was not expecting that last night. And even we had people sitting behind us. And he's like, "Oh no, that's someone's our one buddy said it was as good as the Keaton one." And I'm like, but okay. So
that's a different conversation.
Yeah, I say that's a different conversation for a different day. But I had a couple of criteria I wanted to break it down by, and let's go by cast. So, and like I said, we got into it a little bit yesterday because, like I said, we were trying to get the show going and we didn't. But we're like, let's see what we want to talk about. And the first thing that I brought up with cast, we kind of had the same thing, is there's not a weak link in this cast.
No, not at all. There's no chink in the armor.
No, and the probably the one with the weakest resume would probably be, I would say, Zoe Kravitz, but her
killed it.
Yeah, Catwoman. She was strong. She was fierce. She was
likable.
Likable. Had really good chemistry with Robert Pattinson. Just everything you really want out of your Catwoman. She was beautiful. She was sexy. She was deadly when she needed to be. She deadly to the point of where she almost killed someone. at
Mhm.
right in front of Batman and Commissioner Gordon, or not Commissioner Gordon, it was Lieutenant Gordon at the time. But
Right. And the way she moved was awesome. How she came down that fire escape, and it was just, she looked like Catwoman. I mean, everybody felt like their character. They didn't feel like,
yeah,
you know.
and so let's go. Let's save Batman for last. So Andy Serkis as Alfred. Andy Serkis is one of the best actors in the industry as Alfred, but he's not your typical Alfred. There's not the typical relationship you expect with Bruce Wayne in this.
Yeah, so a few years ago with that character, Alfred, they did this run shortly after, well, right when the Man of Steel movie was coming out. They did Superman Earth 1 Volume 1, and I think they made a Superman Earth 2 Volume 2. Then they got into Batman Earth 1 Volume 1, and I go on. There's a Wonder Woman, there's a Titans one, and all that stuff. And in the Batman Earth 1 Volume 1, Thomas Wayne, it opens up as running against Oswald Cobblepot for mayor, and he hires this badass M6, whatever, James Bond was, whatever, I don't know. Anyways, military guy from Britain named Alfred Pennyworth to be his chief of security. And then the parents go out and they get killed. And I'm sorry, she's just being ruthless. The parents go out and they get killed, and Bruce sees it all. And yes, he is the one that teaches Bruce initially how to fight and all that kind of stuff. And to make a long story short, the only levity to that comic, which was pretty cool, was he comes to pick the boy up. He finds out that the boy has been left to him and all of the Wayne estate in the case of any kind of emergency, because of what I guess Thomas Wayne did his research. And the cops are like, well, who are you, to the boy? And he's sitting there and the boy's crying. He goes, I'm his butler.
Yeah.
And that's how that kind of works. So it was that dynamic, to where he's kind of seeing this this kid that he helped raise, but it wasn't like your typical father-son relationship like you usually see. Sorry, that's me. Just clearing something off. It wasn't your typical father-son relationship that you typically see, and that's what I saw in this movie. I saw the relationship between Bruce and Alfred as pulled straight from that Earth 1 Volume 1. And then of course everything else that was peppered into it was like, you're going out on the limb too much here. You need to make up appearances, all this stuff. Then your typical Alfred stuff.
Yeah, and then we also get introduced to Carmine Falcone, played by John Turturro, and John Turturro is fantastic as anything I've ever seen him in.
He actually looks the part too, as far as how he looked in Batman Year One and The Long Halloween. He's very believable.
And then we have Jeffrey Wright as Lieutenant James Gordon in this one,
who is my favorite Gordon.
Yeah, he reminds me. It reminds me very similar to kind of the tone he played as. I had it right on the tip of my tongue in the Casino Royale when he plays the CIA counterpart. Where I'm just like, yeah, that's kind of that same dirty edge to him. Where I know you had one of your favorite scenes with him when he was
when he went all Dirty Harry in Batman's face.
Yeah,
that was nuts. I was like, wow. Yeah, I love that, because the two of them are discussing. The other cops are watching, but he's supposed to be chewing Batman out for getting out of line. He gets in Batman's face. He's like, "We gotta get you out of here," like that, as if to say, like, "Oh, Gordon's really going hard. I wonder what he's saying." But really, they're kind of just talking in code together. That's awesome. That was brilliant. And he's just good. He's just so good.
Yeah. Jeffrey Wright also just another phenomenal performance. one of the ones that shocked me was Colin Farrell as Oz slash the Penguin.
It shocked you that he was so good, or
It shocked me. It shocked me one that he was even cast as the Penguin, and
yeah?
then his performance was awesome. Like that, my favorite part when, um, when he kind of gives them a little bit of a tip of a clue, to one of the Riddler's riddles, and they're kind of going back and forth,
Oh,
Batman and Gordon. Then they're done. He's like, "I'm still here," like,
yeah,
"Hello," and he
yep.
starts waddling because he's cuffed to his hand and feet, and he's like, "Hello, guy, I'm still here." And I just thought his performance was great, and honestly, I hope he's coming back. I think he's
Oh,
coming back, but
he's
I
gonna
he better come back because I love his version of the Penguin.
he's coming back to HBO Max, bro.
Is he
There's
okay?
a Colin Farrell HBO Max Penguin show coming.
Good because if he's the Penguin, it's gonna be fun
Yep.
because there's a way you can go really hard into the whole Penguin thing, and they didn't do it
Yeah.
at all. You can kind of go Danny DeVito if you want, or there's well, we say there's only been three Penguins. Burgess Meredith, Danny DeVito, and I forget the other one, but
The guy from Gotham.
yeah. Uh, so and that was just like, oh no, I like this Penguin. It's much more believable, and I thought it was great.
And I've always wanted to see, since I found out what the Penguin really was. After when I was a kid, I saw Batman Returns, and I seen the 66 stuff. Now that I like seen like what they made the Penguin into as years went by as a teenager, I always wanted to see them do the Penguin this way. So a little bit untouchable, you know. Excuse me.
And so we'll get to the Riddler, played by Paul Dano, and his. If you have not seen some of Paul Dano's work, you should. One of my favorite movies that he's in is a movie called Prisoners with Hugh Jackman. Um, and he can come off as so damn creepy, like to such a degree where you're like, this Riddler is, and it's funny because we just talked about Batman Forever, where that Riddler's it's over the top, it's goofy. This Riddler is terrifying.
Yes, he's terrifying, and he's that element of the movie that I said makes it a sick movie. Like as far as like he's a sick person.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was great. From A to Z. Uh, I think they're setting some things up for Hush if this is supposed to be a trilogy
Well,
because
that's one of the things that we talked about before, where you know, with a 3 hour runtime, like you can, is it filled with bloat or is it something where, and I said this before, if it's 3 hours of setting things up, have at it. And it was 3 hours of setting things up.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
It was
not just setting things up, but excellent storytelling. There's so many levels to the story. I mean, it's unbelievable. But let's get to the star of the show, Robert Pattinson as Batman slash Bruce Wayne.
Was he even in the movie? I didn't. All I saw was Batman.
If you come out of this movie thinking and still have a view of Robert Pattinson as a sparkly vampire, you're a moron. You didn't watch this movie because
Yeah,
after more than a few minutes, we were talking. I was like you said, did you even see Robert Pattinson? I was like, no, I saw Batman and I saw
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne. That's what I saw.
Exactly. That's exactly what I saw. And I saw Bruce Wayne that knew what he wanted to do and didn't give a shit else about the rest of the stuff. He just didn't realize what he had to be. You know what I mean? And at the end of the movie, he knows what he has to be. He has to be something more
Right.
than just vengeance.
Well, and
So
and I love the way, and like I said, we'll get into that towards the end, but the way they play that up, because he's not the only one that claims to be vengeance. So let's see here, because I do have notes. Let me make sure I get through all my notes before we get into really hardcore. Um, Before I'm gonna put the spoilers thing up. So, is there anything you want to kind of gloss over that won't go too hard in the spoilers?
um No, not yet. No, because I got to get into spoilers to say what I want to say.
Okay. And this, like I said, we're gonna. I'm trying to be gentle with it. So this is year 2 Batman. So there's this very contentious uh relationship between not just him but the city. The people don't know what he is yet. The cops don't know what he is yet. The government officials definitely don't know what he is yet. So it's a very, very cool, especially in the very beginning. Seeing his relationship with the cops, where the only one who really knows him so far is Lieutenant Gordon.
Right.
So it's really nice to see, like, oh, like, because we've seen in other movies where he has a bad relationship with the cops, but that's because he's done something, either in his plan or you know just done something where the cops didn't like it. They don't know him. They don't know who this guy is. That they don't know if he's good. They don't know if he's good for the city, bad for the city, what. So it's still, I like how they really say, like, this is completely new. We don't know what the hell is going on and who the hell this guy is.
Word.
So, all right, Adam. So, just to, so we're gonna get into spoilers, but I think I know how many batarangs are you giving the Batman out of 5?
5.
5, yeah, yeah. It's a 5 out of 5. Like I said, if you have not seen it, go see it. If you have seen it, go see it again.
Yeah, I'm going to see it again. I'm definitely going to see it again.
Yeah, because I was just checking to see what it's clocking in at so far for opening day. It was at 55 million for opening night, or for it should be not opening night. It was maybe his opening weekend, according to Variety. So
I mean, we still got tonight's tickets to take into account.
well,
It's Saturday.
I say give me 1 second. So I saw the article. Let me see what they're. I don't want to screw this up. All right, so the Batman Begins release grossed a hefty 57 million from over 4,000 locations on its opening day. So it's 57 million for its opening day. That sum includes 21 million. Damn, 21 million from Thursday preview showings. The DC adaptation is tracking somewhere between 120 to 130 for the weekend. With more than 50 million already in the bank, the Batman is already the biggest opening of 2022. Obviously, it's not going to come close to Spider-Man, and it shouldn't.
Oh,
but
that's another conversation.
no,
I mean, two different movies. Spider-Man's a comic book movie.
well, and that's the thing too. So this is the start of a start. Spider-Man was the finish, so that should have had a bigger bigger opening. But compared with Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises, Dark Knight brought in 158 million. The Dark Knight Rises brought in 160. So it's going to be in really good company.
What did Batman Begins bring in?
Batman Begins doesn't say. So, but
because it sounds like they're comparing it to like the Dark Knight, the best one, but really Batman Begins was what was laid the groundwork.
Yeah, for 1 versus 1, let's check it up, and this is all via IMDb. So, opening weekend, 48 million. So it's gonna crush that. It already has.
Yeah. So there you go, and that was a big success.
Well, that was considered a moderate start for people weren't exactly sure what Christopher Nolan was going to bring. So
yeah, they were still worried about that whole
All right, so I put up the spoilers graphic, which means we're going spoilers and we're going heavy. So, all right, Adam. One of the things um, that I really, really like, and I think it's one of the things that I think some of the other movies really were afraid to touch on was the Waynes were not angels in in the grand scheme of Gotham City.
No, they weren't. They were still good people, though.
Right.
And but whether or not that the public will go down knowing that is a different story. But Alfred knew that Thomas Wayne was still a good man. The Martha Arkham stuff again came from the Batman Earth One Volume One, and it was also in the Telltale series. I played the Telltale series video games, um, which
So
I'm glad they went with.
yeah, so you kind of, I mean, you went through, but there was really a lot there that they really threw into the story. So was it Martha was actually part of the Arkham family?
Yeah, yeah. The Arkhams and the Waynes founded Gotham City, and they they were like the founding families, and those two fell in love and they got married. But she had problems with mental illness, and her mother murdered her father because he was had mental illness, and you know, I guess they made an asylum afterwards.
And then so it actually, and it really draws lines between Thomas Wayne and actually having not, he wasn't involved with the mob, but he had ties to the mob. Where one of the scenes where that Falcone's talking to Bruce Wayne, and Bruce Wayne, he's telling him, "Oh, hey, yeah, your dad performed basically surgery on your guys's, kitchen table." And
Right? He said,
I remember looking up and seeing you over, looking down.
and if I know, I never forget a face.
Yeah,
But that's what he says. I think my dad just, practiced the Hippocratic Oath, kind of a thing, because he couldn't go to a hospital. And that's another pull from the comics, So,
yeah, but also that led to the contentious relationship between Bruce and Alfred, where I think it's the first time where that I remember, at least in the movies, where you see Bruce kind of go after Alfred a little bit, saying like, "Hey, you lied," you
yeah,
know.
my whole life.
He claims he lied, but no one ever claimed that their parents were were angels. It's just kind of one of those things. It's the and you mentioned it yesterday how they show a lot of news coverage, and they use the news a lot as a storytelling tool in the movie. And
Frank
so
Miller.
yeah, Frank Miller s. Um, so they show Thomas Wayne a lot through the news, and and through these news stories, there's the perception that Thomas Wayne is an upright, standing citizen who's doesn't have a never jaywalked or anything like that. So
Right. And basically, he wanted to protect his wife. He wanted to protect his kid from public scrutiny because it was his decision to run for mayor. Um, Under whatever intentions, however good his intentions were for that. And there was this reporter, Edward Elliot, that was trying to expose the history of his wife's family, being the Arkhams. The Arkhams used their money and power to bury the the evidence or whatever that the mother murdered the father, and that Martha herself had been in asylums or in the asylum herself a couple times for mental illness, had been treated for that, and it
well, and
scared
that
Thomas Wayne.
well, and they had news footage of her looked like she was trying to escape the asylum or whatever.
Yeah,
There's a lot of storytelling tools that are so well done in this movie. So I got to give Matt Reeves, the director, like a ton of credit for uh, just the overall vision, and just the levels the like just all the different storytelling tools that he used were excellent.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And
So
I like how
sorry, we got someone in the chat saying Most realistic take on Batman. This is from You Know the Deal. Most realistic take on Batman. Best Batmobile. Sexiest Catwoman equals best overall Batman film ever made. So I think Adam agree.
Boom.
Adam agree with that.
Boom. I will agree with that. I will. Very much so.
So, but
I'll always love Julie Newmar and Anne Hathaway.
Well,
but
it's your first love. So
yeah.
But one of the things that and I think they did a great job of doing in this movie is actually showing the detective Batman.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, he's clearly very intelligent, but he's not too intelligent. Where he's probably the smartest guy in most rooms, but clearly in this movie he's not the smartest guy in every room, and you see that later in the movie.
Yeah. I'd like to. What's your take on that? What you just said. What do you mean by not the smartest guy in every room?
Well, because like you see in, let's start off with the first crime where the mayor's murdered, and he gets the clues, and he just he kind of takes a few seconds where they answer the first clue is what's the first clue? The first clue is what does a liar do after is it dead? Or
what does a liar do after he's dead?
What does a liar, and he just goes, he lies still. And and everybody's like, what? And he's like, he lies still. There's
a riddle.
There's levels to it where it's like he's still lying, and also he's dead. So
right.
And you see that, but also like with the when they're having the conversation with Penguin, where it took the Penguin pointing them in a certain way because
it's like your Spanish is terrible.
Yeah, because the one clue where it was in Spanish, but it was wrong Spanish, and but Batman's he's like, no, he doesn't make mistakes, but it took the Penguin going, hey idiots, it's like it's this, and oh. And then obviously we have the scene later in the movie with the Riddler, but we'll get to that. So that's all I meant. It's like it's just nice to see where, once again, just because it's top of mind, because I saw it most recent was Batman Forever, where he just walks in and he's clearly the smartest. Oh hey, that whole thing.
Look at the numbers on my face, you won't find 13 any place.
Right.
Numbers 1 through 12. The answer is a clock.
Right. So you don't have that. So and it's just nice to see, like, it's year 2. He's, like I said, he's really good, and you have that first interaction with Penguin and Batman. He's like, oh, you're everything they said they were, aren't you? And, it's like,
oh, take it easy, sweetheart. You're everything they said you were, aren't you?
So you have the murder of the mayor, which leads to this nightclub.
Right.
That's run by the Penguin. So
the Iceberg Lounge.
The Iceberg Lounge. That's right. All right. So let's get back to my notes here. So, and I know that you said this was more from the comics. So no Wayne Manor or no Wayne Mansion, but he's in Wayne Tower. That's where he's staying.
Yeah, he lives in the penthouse of Wayne Tower, which was always something I was partial to after taking a deeper dive into Batman comics when I got back into them in my late 20s. When you go into when you get into the history of Batman transitioning from goofy, campy Adam West stuff, even in the comics, because the comics mimicked that at the time, and then the dawn of the Silver Age, where like the editor at DC Comics, his name was Julie Schwartz at the time, he had assigned people to revamp these characters, and that's how we got the Barry Allen Flash rather than the Jay Garrick, and it's how we got rid of Alan Scott, but then we had Hal Jordan, and we had Space Cops instead of a magical lantern. When it came to Batman, they gave him to Denny O'Neil, and Denny O'Neil said, boy, if there's anything that's not broken, doesn't need to be fixed. It's this. They just had to take the camp out of it. And he and Neil Adams I think they had already, I don't know if they had already done Hard Traveling Heroes or they did it at the same time, because Hard Traveling Heroes was like Green Lantern, Green Arrow, which was an awesome anthology. Anyways, I digress. And so they kept the original origins, they put it all back together to the Batman that we still know and love today, except for the thing was with him, they thought it made more sense to keep him in downtown Gotham and to have him have like this penthouse and this kind of like underground like Batcave that he has, similar to what you saw in The Dark Knight. And I think what Matt Reeves did with this was an old early late 19th century, early 20th century Wayne subway or train station thing that was obsolete, and that was his cave. So yes, that's my answer.
Yeah, so if you're not, so no Bat Mansion, the Bat Cave is an old train station.
Which is a prequel book out. He found that train station like when he was young, and he's been down there ever since.
Yeah, so and we should have talked about this earlier, but how do you feel about the suit?
I was on edge about the suit like 2 years ago when we saw it. It grew on me, but then, like I said, then you see the movie and you don't see it anymore. You don't see the suit anymore. You just see Batman. I love that collar. I know that that's hard to unsee, but I remember it came from Gotham by Gaslight. If you ever seen, did you see Gotham by Gaslight?
Yeah, I like steampunk, so
yeah, it was. I just like it. So yeah, the suit was good. Everybody speculated though about what the symbol was. Is that the gun that killed his parents cut in half?
I was like, oh good lord.
I was like, I hope not, Oh, guess what it was?
It's a tool.
It was the Batarang.
Yeah, and a tool.
Yeah. He used it to cut some things open on one side, but at the end of the movie, he put it together, pulled it out, and he used it as the Batarang. I was like, it's the Batarang.
Yeah, because I was playing Arkham Asylum, just trying to get into it. I was like, it reminds me very much of that, where it's a freaking tough ass suit. You'll see it throughout the movie. I was like, it's bulletproof, it's bomb proof, stab proof. Yeah, it's very, very, very bulletproof.
He took a point blank shot from a double barrel shotgun and a bomb.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a scene where he literally has a bomb go off in his face. I was like, so that didn't affect him at all? No?
I was like,
only one?
Guess we better clean up our seats here. Movie's over. Batman's dead.
But there are a few points where in the movie where you go, huh, that didn't do anything? All right, okay, let's just keep going.
I'm on board.
Yeah. And get back to it. Pattinson looks great in that suit. He looked great, and because some of the stills that they put out weren't terribly flattering, but just for his intro as Batman, it was nothing flashy. It was a guy getting attacked on a subway. They exit the subway. They're chasing him down, and he's down. They're about to really get after him, and he's here. These boots just not ninja, steps,
just swing out,
just heavy boots, just thud, 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 thud. And I was like, how far away is he? But it's like, and this, finally he appears. I'm just like, that's a freaking entrance. And there's a few times where you go, man, that's a freaking shot. Like my favorite shot of the whole movie it's the one that's upside down.
What's that?
When they have the end of the car chase with Penguin.
Oh gosh, yeah, I know.
And he's just walking, and, Penguin's car's upside down. He's looking. Batman just slowly strolls up, and there's fire behind him, and it's like, really wish to see her upside right side up.
Right.
but
Oh, that was magical though.
one of the nice things I think that this movie really hits is it's a mix between Nolan's very grounded Batman, but also the other Batman movies where there's that little air of comic book, let's say comic book to it. This one's not. It's very grounded, but not as grounded as Christopher Nolan's, which I think was kind of the part of the issue with some of Nolan's stuff, where it's almost too grounded.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because if somebody came along and said this is way too grounded, I'd get what they meant, but then I lean towards what you're saying because this was the real Gotham City. This was the real Batman. This was like, for all practical purposes, it's like saying, "Hey, did you see that Tim Allen movie with he played Santa Claus?" No, but I remember that Santa Claus movie done by the Salkins back in the 80s.
Right.
That was the real Santa Claus.
Yeah, that's
like,
the real.
Kind
Like,
of,
okay.
yeah, I guess it's kind of a shaky analogy, but
But I mean, what one of the examples is like the technology, like, and one of the biggest uses of technology. It's something very, very simple, but yet I'm like, that's super clever. Was the contact camera where
the contact lenses, yeah,
the contact lens where it's a camera, but it's not just a camera, because it transmits. It's transmissible where it can have the feed uh, uh, beam to somewhere else, and not only
yeah,
like when you look at someone, like, okay, so get into it. So he ends up pairing up with Catwoman or Selena Kyle. Selena Kyle he sends into Penguin's lounge, into the iceberg lounge, so because they're saying, hey, there's a bunch of dirty stuff going on in the city, and there's a lot of people who should not be at this club in this club. So he's like, all right, I just need you to wear this contact and go look around. And so what the contact does is it looks at him, and if after a while it recognizes who that person is and like what affiliation they are. So he's just like, hey, go look around these people. And so Selena Kyle's her motive for the movie is she's trying to find her friend who's missing. And if you're a girl missing in Gotham, you're probably dead. So obviously,
yeah.
she thinks the worst has happened, but so she's team up with Batman trying to get her friend. So that's how they hook up. So
Yeah, and we get to meet Gil Colson, who has been in different iterations of Batman. I believe he was the DA that Katie Holmes was working with in Batman Begins,
oh
and I think he was the little sniveling idiot in Batman: Mask of the Phantasm. But I'd have to look that one up.
yeah, I didn't bring up who played him. Peter Sarsgaard plays him. So one of
Yes,
the from the famous Sarsgaard. He does a great
indeed,
job.
he really does. I'm sorry.
Well, it's funny. It's just seeing him come off as like such a dude, where he's like trying to hit on Zoe Kravitz. He's like, "Hi," just
Yeah,
a oh, you're just
yeah.
you're just a poor pathetic guy who's just trying to get by and trying to talk to these girls. And it's funny. He's like, "Hey, my name's Gil. You want to come over to our booth?" Yeah, any other time be like, "Get lost, loser." But
$10,000 a month.
yeah, but
It's crazy.
so and that but that was one of the nice uses touches of technology where it's it's super advanced for what it is, but it it's still ground enough where I'm like, I could see that being a thing in a handful of years or decades, just
It might already be.
well, I say it should, and that's the nice thing about it, especially technology in sci-fi or movies like this. Be like, I can see that being a thing, like
Yeah.
phones, they're tricorders or whatever.
Yeah, to quote Elon Musk, the only difference between you and a cyborg is the cyborg, you don't have that phone in your body yet.
Right.
That's all there is to it.
Yeah, but so that was just one of the nice little uses of technology, and kind of bridging that gap and taking it from, this is still a comic book movie. This is you still have that, was the uncanny valley where you're like, oh yeah, I can my brain's letting that happen.
Absolutely. Well, you got to suspend. You have to suspend reality for imagination at some point.
Yeah.
In any movie you see.
But also one of the things that I loved, and you and I both said it, or you brought it up, but was so. So we talked about he gets the bomb going off in his face, so which leads to him. He gets knocked out, so he wasn't completely unfazed, but he still has his face. But he gets knocked out. He ends up in Gotham PD, and so to escape Gotham PD, he races all the way to the top of the building and he gets to the ledge and goes, whoa.
Yeah, he stopped before he jumps.
So yeah. So this is where you still have the young Batman. This is year 2 Batman. He's not fearless. He's like, oh, geez.
Yeah.
What everybody else would do. He's like, hold on a second, because a well-trained Batman just goes right off the cliff, knows what to do. He goes, hold on a second, he gets his I call him a squirrel suit, the wing suit out.
He pulls it on and his cape wraps up. He goes,
yeah, so he gets this, the wing suit, and then he jumps. But it was just nice to go, whoa, no.
Yeah. See, at that point too, I loved it, but then I thought, I wonder how many people are going to go, that's not Batman.
No, because that's the point. He's not Batman yet. It's year 2 Batman, but those are one of the things that I love about it, because you go, yeah, he's he's not the smartest guy in the room. He's not he's not fearless yet, and they say that, and they take that another way later in the movie. He's not fearless. He's still got stuff to learn, and even in the trailer you hear like, oh. You hear the Riddler's like, oh, you're not as smart as I thought you were,
Yes, exactly. And it reminds me about how the story I was telling you about, this is just a lint roller here, but I'm going to use it as a prop. Batman Earth 1 Volume 1 by Jeff Johns. He's running and he's going to use his grapple gun, right? He points his grapple gun out and it shoots and it just goes and the grapple goes right off the edge of it and all the rope comes out and it unwinds and it doesn't work. He's like, oh, damn it.
And one of the things I meant to mention earlier, I love the look of Gotham.
Yeah, I think that was London, wasn't it?
I'm on IMDb trying to figure out. I'll see if I can find what the shooting locations were, because I know for Christopher Nolan, I know they use downtown Pittsburgh as
that was the Dark Knight Rises. Yeah, and then Batman. So I have to look up the Dark Knight, but Batman Begins was Chicago, and I think the Dark Knight might have been New York, and then I know that Pittsburgh was the Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, so filming locations they have is St. George's Hall, Liverpool, England, UK. I'll see what else.
They're from Liverpool.
Oh, they have. Oh, this is awesome. They literally have it broken down by scene. That's awesome. So on IMDb, if you go into the filming locations, they have 18 different locations, and so for Gotham City Hall, they have in Liverpool, Batman and Selina living in the cemetery. That's a scene at the end of the movie. They have the Necropolis Cemetery in Glasgow, Scotland. Batman and woman on motorbikes. They have that in Chicago. Batman escaping the police building in Liverpool. Gotham Orphanage, the Hartwood Psychiatric. Sorry, this is me completely nerdy now, but I love stuff like this. That they, so like the Iceberg Lounge, Printworks nightclub in London, the Batcave entrance in Kingsway Tram Tunnel in Southampton Row in London. So a lot in England and UK overall, like Scotland, and a little bit in Chicago, like the Batman Glide Escape, also Chicago. So sorry, I thought that I was like, woo! That was cool.
You know what? This podcaster here needs a cup of coffee. I apologize.
Okay.
Do you think we could?
I'll just talk. So go get coffee.
All right, talk about some Batman stuff.
All right, so I'll go back to the thing. So I'll go back to IMDb for you guys. So So one of the things that I really enjoyed was uh, they almost have an instant chemistry between Zoe Kravitz and Robert Pattinson, Selena Kyle, and Bruce Wayne, which uh, it is really, you can really see it on screen because some people it's forced. And this one, I was like, oh, there's a little something there. So I thought that was really great chemistry with those two, and then Robert Pattinson's relationship with Andy Serkis. Like I said, it's really contentious because you're used to seeing them as almost father and son, and this it's like, he starts off more, uncleish, but also as it goes on later, where he's like, you were supposed to be the only one I could trust, and I still don't trust you, or I don't trust, or I trust you less. The guy who's raised him, and being someone, I've been a stepdad. You're always just, I know exactly where Alfred's coming from this because you're just doing your best. You're trying to do the best you can, but trust me, it doesn't always go your way. So I thought that was very interesting uh, dynamic, especially because later in the movie, so so you see the Riddler has a plan going throughout the movie. He's going after really big, high important people in the city of Gotham, not necessarily like one particular set of people. So he starts off going after, he goes after the mayor, and then he goes after the commissioner of the GCPD, who is not obviously Commissioner Gordon at this point. It is Commissioner Pete Savage, who's played by Alex Ferns. Alex Ferns did a great job too because he really played into the whole. So the opening scene where Batman's actually on the crime scene of the mayor, Alex Ferns, Pete Savage goes after Gordon really hard because like, dude, we've been together for 30 years. Like, what are you doing? Like, you don't know this guy. This guy might have done it. It gets back to that relationship of no one knows who Batman is really except for Gordon. So they have he goes after Mayor, and then he goes after Pete Savage, and then he goes after Peter Sarsgaard's DA Gil Colson. So at the so that's when we have the bomb scene because it sets up the funerals, the funeral for the mayor. So that's where the whole city, everybody's showing up to, pay tribute to the mayor. But Batman's starting to put some pieces together, and he thinks that at such a big event that the Riddler's probably going to show back up because, as he puts it, serial killers always like to revisit or at least try and stay involved some way. So he thinks the Riddler's going to show up some way, and he's right. Now he doesn't get to see the Riddler obviously because the reveal of Paul Dano is spectacular, but so that's when we have Bruce Wayne actually at the funeral there because it's a big scene. He's actually playing Bruce Wayne, which is actually interesting because that's part of the relationship between Alfred and Bruce Wayne, where he's like, hey, you can't just be Batman all the time. You have to be Bruce Wayne, or else the illusion doesn't work, right? So he's got to do both. You have to play two sides. You don't get just to be Batman all the time. So, and that was really interesting because they have a scene there where Bruce is kind of trying to call Alfred out because Bruce is getting ready for the funeral, and Alfred goes, "Where are your cufflinks?" He's like, "I lost them. I'm not gonna worry." He's like, "No, you got to keep up appearances. Like, you're a Wayne." So he takes off his cufflinks, which are actually, you have the monogram of W on there. He's like, "Oh, what are you a Wayne?" He's like, "Your father gave me these cufflinks." So that sort of makes me a Wayne, and that was a pretty good scene. So
where he treats him like shit, but he's like, your father treated me like family.
well, that's how I say that, and that's kind of
Pretty
a
much.
very symbolic. Yeah, no, your family. If however you want to, word it. It's
Yeah.
given the no, you're not just the butler. We're more
Yeah.
than that.
It's the chief of security with my job to protect him.
Yeah. So I was just getting into the funeral scene. So they have, so like I said, Batman's starting to put things together a little bit, and he's suspecting that the Riddler's going to show up because, serial killers want to revisit, the scene, or they want to stay involved. So
yeah, they want to see the aftermath or whatever.
yeah. So
which is the reason he goes.
Right. Yeah.
I
Well,
that.
I say the whole reason he's going is because he has to play Bruce Wayne. And the only way he can get in is to play himself.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's kind of it's run throughout the movie is, so at the death of the mayor, Batman notices a small bloody footprint, and then he looks over, and Gordon goes, "Oh yeah, the kid found him." So you immediately have the kid surrounded by cops, and he looks over, and obviously, you don't have to be a genius to see the correlation. So, so when they're at the funeral, you start hearing people scream, and you realize that a car is driving out of control into the freaking funeral. And so Bruce Wayne, first thing he does is he grabs the kid who's there, because obviously he's up front. So he grabs the kid, saves him, and then turns out the person driving the car is the DA Coulson, but he's got a bomb wrapped around his neck. So
could we just back it up a few frames right there? And
yeah,
I wanted to know if you caught this or what you think of this. So the little kid is being questioned by the cops, and Batman is staring at him, and what he's thinking. And the little kid is staring back at Batman. And you start to think, the kid's looking at him like this is a kindred moment, right?
Yeah.
I believe that the kid recognized him at the funeral, because Bruce was standing there looking at the kid, and the kid looked at him, and they just kept staring at each other.
I'm not sure about. He very well may have. I didn't draw that correlation. I just kind of, for some odd reason, I just thought, I was like, hey, you might make a nice Robin.
Now we want Dick Grayson, damn it. Don't do this. Dick Grayson, Flying Graysons, all that stuff. Yeah, no Flying Todds, though.
Yeah. We just need pit crew Todd, so the steel tires.
Yeah, we want post-crisis Todd.
Right. So that leads to the scene where we have Coulson with a bomb wrapped around his neck, and he's trying to. So all he's got to do is give these riddles, answer to these riddles, and it's very simple. I forget it's 3, but what's the first one? I forget the first riddle.
The first one is the answer to its justice.
Oh yeah, it can either be blind or but it answers justice, and then how much should it cost, basically to buy you to have you look the other way or not prosecute certain.
The answer was bribes, but then he had to tell how much the bribe he was taking was.
And then so this is where it really starts to, you really start to see the layers kind of come together, because so with the death of the commissioner, that, sorry, I completely went over this, but so that's where we have the riddle of, is it Latrada?
Larada, yeah.
Larada. So they're trying to figure out, so but they have narrowed it down to basically in the mob trials, there's a rat. There's an informant.
When they busted Maroni, which they don't do in the movie.
Right.
Sounds like it's a Batman Year One thing.
Right.
Yeah, when they busted Maroney, they had an informant that gave up all his drops and all this stuff and all his places. And there was an informant who did that. But this informant is tied very tightly, and say if you gave him up, then your family's going to die.
So and that's kind of where we get to with him. Where so all he's got to do, all the DA has to do is just tell him who the rat is. He's like, nope, they'll kill everything I got. They'll take out my family and everything. So he literally just lets the bomb go off in Batman's face because Batman's just like, just tell me, he's literally got him by the collar. Just tell me who it is. Nope.
Boom.
And then we get the him being taken into GCPD,
which is one of my favorite scenes in that scene.
So
says, if I tell you right now, he goes, if I die right now, it's just me. If I give up this guy, they could kill my family and everyone I love.
Well, that's the thing. So now we've got the different layers. So now we have who is the Riddler. We have Catwoman trying to find out where her friend is, but we all kind of know. And now through the Riddler, we're trying to figure out who the rat is with all this mafia stuff going on. So now there's this tier of, now you're in this mafia world. You're like, oh boy, there's a lot going on here. And so the big the big thing in like the drug world is it's called drops, right? So things that you actually take drops in your eyes. And so
it's like instead of shooting heroin, you do drops.
Yeah. So, and people are calling them drop heads, and that's one of the things that you actually end up seeing in the nightclub is all these, you see the DA doing drops and all these people doing drops all over the place. The upstanding citizens of Gotham. So, but now, like I said, so you were kind of introduced to the mafia world, the Gotham mafia world. Now you're forced to be in it because now we got to find out who the rat is.
Yes.
So
and so you're basically stuck at the mercy of the Riddler and his riddles. But we're in the jail cell, right? We're in the holding cell of GCPD because there's a very, very pinnacle scene that kind of shows the depth of the friendship between Gordon and Batman.
Yeah.
He's getting ready to fight every cop in there because they keep trying to take off his mask and they're making accusations to him. And Gordon pushes Batman against the wall, and Batman looks at him and goes, "Oh, you now too? Like you're against me now too?" And he says, "Just give me a minute to talk to him. Let me reel him in. He'll cooperate." And then he takes him into the other room, and he's like, he gets in his face. He's like, "We got to get you out of here." And Batman's like, "There's too many people around." He's like, "Not if you punch me in the face." And it's like the cops are looking at him like, "Whoa, what's he saying to him?"
Yeah. Oh, he's getting in Batman's ass.
Yeah. Which when Jeffrey Wright did that, man, just the look on his face, like me doing it isn't, I'm just showing you what happened. But
no, Jeffrey Wright has a knack for those just being super intense. So.
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. And he gave him that key. He got out. It was just a moment that it's why it's my favorite iteration of the relationship between Batman and Gordon. And I will never discredit Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman was awesome. He was the best Gordon we ever had. J.K. Simmons should not be Gordon, in my opinion. I thought that was a bad casting choice. But I think he's going to do just fine with it. But I'd rather see Jeffrey Wright be the Leslie. Why am I going to say Leslie Nielsen? That's a guy.
Leslie Grace.
Leslie Grace. There we go. Leslie Nielsen. Leslie Grace's dad. That would have been awesome.
Well, and that's kind of one of the things to tie together because she's clearly, either a person of color or mixed race, whatever you want to say. But like someone's like, well, then the dad's got to be black. I was like, well, Jeffrey Wright's there, and Jeffrey did a hell of a job. So Let's go.
Yeah, but it's J.K. Simmons. It's already announced.
Right.
So they've already got.
Which doesn't make sense, but
Well,
J.K. Simmons is a great actor, so he'll kill it. So
yeah, the thing is though he did a serviceable job with what he was given. He was given not a lot to do in Justice League. You know
right.
what I mean? Um, and so maybe if he's given more to do in this, it'll be a different story, and that's cool. But so I mean, obviously her mom's black, so
Yeah, which well, and that's the thing too. 'Cause well, no, I'm sorry, thinking of Selena. Selena Kyle's mom you never see. Anyway, so where were we? Where are we at? I forget. Sorry.
so we've broken under the jail scene.
Oh yeah, broken out
Um,
jail. So we ever seen where he escapes through off the top of the GCPD with his squirrel suit,
yep.
and then where do we go after that? So, um,
After the squirrel suit.
yeah,
Um, so let's see. After the squirrel suit, the guy's blown up. Now, so everybody's dead. He goes after Bruce Wayne.
that's yeah. Say okay. So that brings us to, uh, okay. So yeah. So they end up taking. They follow the Riddler's new clues. No, because then we have.
Zoe Kravitz with the
Is this where we have the introduction of the Batmobile?
yes.
Yes. Okay. So here
But
we
I
have.
can't remember what happened in between. There's something after he flies, and then
Yeah, that scene. I don't remember, but okay. So now we have one of the coolest introductions to the Batmobile you'll ever freaking see. So, so you've got Gordon, you've got Batman, and you've got Catwoman. They've all figured out where they're doing this drop, for the drops, for the drugs, and so a couple things happen. They find her friend dead. They actually see the body. It's in the it's in a dirty cop car's actual car. She takes some money, and then Penguin is in on the deal, so he's gets in the car, and we have a pretty sweet freaking car chase.
well, we hear first when you see the Batmobile.
Yeah.
A lot of it's hearing it.
No, I say it's
that rev is crazy.
It's one of the coolest because it's not your typical Batmobile, and I said it this way, and you can disagree, but it reminds me of a Batmobile. If there was a Batman in Detroit, this would be the car he has because it looks like something I've seen, like you would see in Detroit, because it's just a badass, strictly for speed. There's no
must have came from the Motor City.
There's no guns on it. There's no missiles. There's no toys on it. It is strictly built for speed. So and you don't. So the first thing you see is the glow of the afterburner, and then you hear the actual engine start revving. You start seeing the smoke and fire start popping. And I'm just like, oh, that's nice. and then we have the car scene that you see a little bit of in the trailer, where there's this big they're swerving in out of traffic. There's this big explosion with the semis, and Penguin's like, I got you, and then you hear and just
comes through the fire.
It
speeds up and hits him in the ass.
It roars through the fire, and then he ends up landing. He clips him, and it's. I love the shots because you see the inside, and you see it looks like he's in a washing machine because he's spinning so much.
Yes.
And then it cuts away, and you see the car flipping, and that's where you see, he ends up. He's still in the car. He's still buckled in because he wore a seatbelt. Good for him. He's upside down. And he looks over, and you see there's the wall of fire, and Batman just walking up to him, and I'm just like,
that music.
Oh, that's the other thing that's so. The score on this movie is so good. Who did the score for this movie?
A genius.
Well, I don't know who it is, but
Hey, you gotta check that out.
excuse me, a little thing in my throat. Music by Michael Giacchino.
All right, Michael Giacchino, you are the man.
Freaking killed it. So he's composed scores for Lost, Alias, Fringe, so he's a J.J. Abrams guy. The Incredibles, Star Trek, Up, and Dawn of Planet Apes. So that's the core. That's where they hook up over there. But yeah, the score is not just the score, but also the choice of music. Because everybody knows they use that the Nirvana song, but not the Nirvana version. I don't think, but
I think they do.
Is that done by Nirvana?
Yeah, because he was all going for like a Kurt Cobain type feel for the character.
Right. Okay.
Which
I'm not gonna
more
lie.
about cocaine, more about Kurt Cobain than I ever will. Then.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Nirvana guy, so but either way, just excellent choices all around for the music. Just it hits so many different notes, so many different the right tones, like almost every step of the way.
Oh my god, I know.
So they've got Penguin, and it goes back to the scene we were talking about earlier, where they're trying to figure out who the rat is, and he's like, "Hello, you guys, you guys have terrible Spanish. It's La Rata, or whatever,
right?"
And so it leads to
URL.
So it actually leads to a website. So, and that's where he finds out. Basically, he has to go back to the orphanage. And so when he shows up, him and Gordon, there's a projector playing a clip of his father. And it's the whole, sins of the father, and he goes, shall be, I forget the sins
of the father shall be visited
upon the son. And then he does the first time that we've seen in the movie where, Gordon goes, oh, hey, and he's gone.
He's gone. It's the announcement of Thomas Wayne's mayoral candidacy that they're watching. Yeah.
Right. So he realizes he's next. So he starts calling. He's calling, trying to get a hold of Alfred. And you think, and I love the way that they did this scene. I really do, because you're like, and they show Alfred opening this package, and he sees the. And that's one of the things too. So every crime, there is a letter written to the Batman. There's an envelope.
Yeah, it's a card.
Yeah, it's a greeting card. So every single crime, there's one that says to the Batman, and then this one was in fireproof material, and right underneath there was another package that was supposed to be for Bruce Wayne. So and
it was Alfred who opened it.
Right. So you have this scene of Bruce calling, trying. He's like, Alfred, and then I forget the lady's the character's name.
I mean, I thought she was going to be on here at first, but then I remember there's no Dick Grayson. So
right. Let's see if I find. So Dory answers the phone, and she's in the movie a little bit earlier, but he's like, you gotta stop it, Alfred, you guys are in danger. She's like, oh honey, it's already happened. And as soon as he's close enough, he pulls up close enough, and you see the smoke billowing from Wayne Tower. And so it shows the scene where Alfred was opening the package. He looks underneath, immediately recognizes what it is, throws it away, and ends up being rushed to the hospital. So
yeah, and that's where they have words at the hospital.
Yeah, and that's where in the scene, in the trailer, everybody's like, what did he lie about? And this is where Bruce kind of hammers him, like the dude literally just wakes up from getting blown up, and he's like, oh, Bruce is here, and Bruce starts getting after him about his dad.
He's laying in the damn hospital.
Hey, dude, I just woke up from being blown up. Give me like 30 seconds. Let me get some hospital pudding.
Let me get some hospital pudding. Oh
But
my
yeah,
god.
they have a very, they kind of have it out where it's a very adult conversation where kind of Bruce is like, you lied to me and blah 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 blah. And he's like, look, man, I did the best I could. Your dad was no saint. No one ever said he was a saint. No one ever claimed he was that. And
Well, he
just
said what he said was like he said you had me believe you lied to me my entire life.
right.
Every time I stood up for him and championed him and all this stuff and said he was a great person, a good man. He goes, your father was a good man.
Yeah.
And then he explained to him, what was going on. So yeah, I mean, that moment in that bed was like a reconciliation between what Alfred and Bruce had been going through like the entire movie.
Yeah, I say, and it definitely came to a head where, you know, Alfred kind of said, "Look, man, grow up.
Right.
Like this is Gotham. Like what do you think you're gonna get through in this city without having to get your hands a little bit dirty? And not to mention, it wasn't for political clout. It wasn't for this. It was to protect your mom. It was to protect your family.
Exactly.
And it was kind of, and I love just the, hey man, grow up. It wasn't, no one's perfect. No one is going to be perfect. And, if you have to make the, this type of decision, are you going to be any different? Don't try and be super holier than thou. So,
I'm having a hard time finding our show.
yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do is link our show. That's what I look like. I look like I'm trying to do two things at once. I somehow I can't find it.
Okay, because I've got it on my phone.
Yeah, somehow I don't have the links anymore connected to my YouTube.
Oh. I mean, I've got it. Let me send it to you.
Yeah, send me the link if you could, please. Oh, I think I'm here. Okay. So,
but
because I wanted to put the live stream up right now on my page.
Oh, okay.
For everyone to see.
But so yeah, and it's actually a really nice scene because him and Alfred kind of puts his hand out and Bruce takes his hand and hey, we're good. But relationship's different, but we're good.
Yeah, he's always like a son to him, and
well, I try to explain it like I've always really respected Alfred, especially since being like a stepdad. Like anytime, like dude just literally trying to do his best.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's trying to do his best, and not you're and just like any parent, really. I mean, you're always trying to do your best, but man, it's not always going to go your way.
No, it isn't, and you know more about that, from being a parent. So, but
well, that I've just always understood where Alfred's coming from because there's always, especially when it comes to being a step parent, there's always people can always say, oh, just treat them like you're their real parent. I was like, there's always that extra barrier there. There always is, and there always will be, and there will always be that extra barrier between Bruce and Alfred because, and he even says it, in the movie, you're not my dad. That's the most heartbreaking thing that you can really say to someone in that position.
I can imagine. That seems like, that's a low blow. You know what I mean? It seems like it is, but
anyway, so we've got Alfred on the men, and so where do we go after this? So So Riddler knows Bruce. He didn't get Bruce, so Bruce Wayne's still alive, but
Right.
he's moving on.
Well, he's Bruce Wayne's still alive, and they're still working on catching the rat,
Right.
and they think that the rat is the Penguin,
Right.
and they've already questioned him after the car chase, sort of a thing.
Right. Now,
And go ahead.
now, when did this come out? Because I know. So getting back to the Catwoman and Batman, it comes out that because they have the argument that you know she's going after Falcone because he owes her, and he's like, "What do you mean he owes you? What are you talking about?" And it comes out Selena Kyle is Falcone's had
Biological daughter.
biological daughter, had it with one of his mistresses. So that's a new layer to it.
That is from, I believe, The Long Halloween, and sometimes they've retconned it, other times they haven't. But in the end, it works for this movie. You know what I mean? And I don't think it's part of modern continuity, but it was in the 90s.
Right. Well, I say, and there's a lot of things where, like I said, I pulled or I brought up, and you're like, yeah, that's happened. Like it or not, it's a thing.
I'm finally getting this in progress. Sorry, folks. I just wanted to get this out there.
So
yeah.
So anyway, now we have So that leads to her going to Falcone directly because hey, she's still playing dumb of trying to find my friend, and all that. So, and she was gonna try and kill him.
Right. For her mother.
Right.
How he treated her mother and kind of left her behind and all of that.
Right. So, so are we getting towards the end here or the final act?
Let's see, we go through the race car chase. We went through the Batmobile chase. To the final act. Oh, okay. So at this point, they're about to they have to arrest the Riddler. They have to they have to figure out who the rat is.
Right.
And how they do figure out who the rat is Selena gets the the bat signal is in the air. And Batman's driving to the bat signal, and then Gordon is getting out of his car, and Batman is in his car, and he's like, "This isn't you?
Yeah,
I thought it was you."
Yeah.
So they get to the building, get to the top of the building, and it's Catwoman like ruthlessly beating the shit out of this crooked cop who had all of Annika's things, including Selena's cell phone. And on that cell phone, we can hear Annika, the Russian, her friend, being murdered by the Carmine the Roman Falcone, or Falcone in this one. They go back and forth between calling him Falcone and Falcone.
Yeah.
I honestly believe they called him Falcone in this to separate it from Batman Begins. And then it depends on how you're reading the book when you read it. Like two different people could read the book and be like, "What'd you think of Falcone?" "You mean Falcone?" "No, I mean Falcone."
I mean the mobster.
Yeah. Right. So, and he strangles her. You can hear her being strangled in the and he's like, Jeffrey Wright character, Jim Gordon's like, Jesus, he's strangling her.
Yeah.
Well, that all hits the news, and the Batman goes to bring him in, and Catwoman goes to kill him.
Yeah, she goes to pull the gun, and Batman immediately goes, "Hey-ya!"
Yeah,
chops the gun away.
And she screams at him, and this is why it's not. That's Batman on screen. She says, "He has to pay." "You don't have to pay with him. You've paid enough."
Yeah.
That is, what did Wayne's World used to say? "Excuse me?"
Yeah.
"A baking powder?" Like, did you just say what I thought you just said? And let's back up a minute with the when they went into the broken down orphanage.
Yeah.
And
I was gonna say
Gordon's like this. He's like,
he pulls out a gun. Yeah.
And Batman's like, no guns. And he goes, yeah, that's your thing.
Yeah. Like, all right.
Yeah, you got me there. That's your thing, man. It's just like this. It's just like this lieutenant's like ninja master trained and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. So back to the scene where she's got the guy all tied up with her whip. So she pulls the gun. Batman knocks it away. She's like, you know what? F this. Kicks the guy off the ledge.
Right. And Batman uses his grapple gun, shoots him, he saves him. And then she goes after Falcone, and that's where we catch up. And she's like, he's got to pay. And he's like, you don't have to pay with her.
Yeah, with
him.
Well, that's one of those things. So, okay, so one of the things we didn't talk about is, so we have, the Iceberg Lounge.
Yeah.
And then inside the club, the club inside the club is the 44 Below, and that's where the big wigs are, and that's where all the mafia guys are.
The Rio Club.
Yeah. So, and this is where I have one of the points of contention where, even it's stated like he does, she's like, I want to see, basically I want to see my dad. Oh, he's not seeing anybody. Well, tell him it's me. Okay. Well, so you're gonna tell me like she gets in there and he didn't check her purse for a gun or any weapon or anything.
Yeah, I'll buy that. I'll buy that.
But anyway, so, but she goes into go see her dad at this point, and she's playing it up a little bit where she's like, oh, I know you're such an important man. I'm still trying to find my friend, yada yada, and then
she's crying.
Right. And at the same time, Batman's infiltrating the club, getting ready to take out, to really start the assault on the 44 Below.
Yeah, he's come to arrest Carmine Falcone.
Right. So it's almost a race to get Falcone at this point. And so Batman cuts the power, and just as she's pulling her gun to go after Falcone, he gets away a little bit. He's on the run from her.
Yeah, he dodges the first bullet because the power goes out.
Right. So, Batman knocks out the power. Batman's sort of fighting his way, and we get one of the coolest scenes. So I'm going to rabbit here for just 1 second. So earlier this year, there was a Resident Evil movie that came out. And one of the things they did in this movie was they did a lot of, it's pitch black, but the only light they would use was like gunshots. So it was like a lot of flash. And it was kind of a cool effect at first. After a while, I was like, you're hurting my eyes. So that being said, so elevator comes up to the, goes to the 44 Below club, and there's no power. So the guy's got his flashlight on his phone. So he finally, he's checking the elevator's empty, looks up, Batman, drops down, knocks the guy out, knocks the phone out. And then so you have this hallway fight scene where the only light is the flash from the guns.
Yeah. And it's all bullets bouncing off of his armor.
Right.
Yeah, there's no dodging bullets in this.
No, and you see there's a touch of it in the trailer, but like just the whole scene, I was like, that's so cool, man.
It looks like a bronze and black and bronze storm, where you can see the shapes of people.
It reminded me, it's not one of those wonder scenes like in Daredevil where it's got that hallway scene where it's just it's a freaking masterpiece, but it's right there where I'm like, that scene is a piece of action masterpiece.
It is.
And it's just one of those things where it's nothing terribly fancy. It's just a static shot, but just the muzzle flashes, and then it's it's like two muzzle flashes, one muzzle flash. It's like, and it was like, That was so satisfying.
Breathtaking, breathtaking cinematography.
Yeah, I say between if it weren't for the scene at the end of the car chase, that I mean, those are my two like just favorite shots where I was like, that's so cool.
Mm. Yeah,
So
I'm
anyway,
there.
enough gushing about, but I was like, God, that's such a cool scene. So they finally, uh, what happens? So, oh, uh, he gets the better of Catwoman, where he's actually on top of her, choking her with a pool cue, and
Oh yeah, my own flesh and blood.
yeah, where he goes from father to, oh no, I'm freaking Carmine Falcone. I'm a freaking murderer.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
And
and he's got one of the best lines that he says to Batman too.
uh,
After when he takes him out, after all of that's said and done, and Batman's arresting him and he's taking him out. He goes, "What you think in your scary mask and your scary cape? I'm gonna break down and just start telling everything." He goes, "Listen, whatever I've done, however I've done it, it's all going with me right to my grave." And then, pow, he gets shot.
yeah, well, and okay, so and God, and it's there's so much good stuff at the end here. So Batman ends up saving Catwoman, obviously, dragging him out to the front, and Carmine kind of knows he's going down at this point. So, and he's he tells Batman off, and he tells Penguin off. He's like, oh hey, I forget exactly what he says to Penguin, but Penguin gets all pissed off. He pulls a gun, and you just hear a
Oh,
gunshot.
I
And
remember what Penguin says.
yeah, what do you say?
He says, "Enjoy your night at Blackgate, Carmine. Probably be your last. No one likes a rat, you know."
Yeah,
He
so
goes, "Oh, you're a big man now." He goes, "I might be, you know."
yeah, so he uh Penguin pulls the gun to take a shot at him, but you hear the gunshot rung out, and then you hear Penguin say, "That wasn't me. That wasn't me.
I didn't shoot. I didn't
I didn't
shoot.
shoot. I didn't shoot." And then Batman's on top of which you can kind of maybe I'm looking into it too much. He's over Carmine, and he's been shot and he's bleeding, and it harkens back to the shot, or wasn't a shot, but just a story of when his father was operating on him, looking over him, and then he
Yeah,
ends up dying, looking, over
and,
top of
and,
him, looking at him.
yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, but there's blood on the cowl. Like after that, right? Carmine's blood is on Batman's face,
Oh
on his
yeah, no,
head.
because it was right there, and
Yeah,
because it turns out the shot was from a across the street, and it was a sniper, a sniper position, and so yeah, so it was probably a pretty high powered, rifle round. So yeah, there was some blood, a decent amount of blood, and then everybody realized like they go check out the apartment, and that's where the Riddler's been. He's been literally across the street from the club the entire time.
yep. Because the last riddle was, bring the rat into the light, and then you'll find where I am. And he goes, he brought the rat into the, and when Falcone gets shot, he looks up, he's under a street light. He's like, bring the rat into the light. And then
Yep.
he looks over and he sees, Riddler in a sniping position.
Yeah. So,
And that's when they arrest him at the Paul Dini looking diner.
well, I was saying that's the thing. So, Batman's first up the fire escape gets, or not to the fire escape, but into the apartment. He's like, Riddler gets away, so they start checking out. Start going through everything. Turns out a witness sees a guy go into a diner. He just jumped off the fire escape. So you have this very cool scene where you have the cops, uh, say, and this is the first time you actually see the Riddler. You see Paul Dano.
You see his face, yeah.
Right.
The other times he's making social media posts or, the sending stuff into the news.
Yeah, which is another thing that we really didn't get into. A lot of, like I said, the storytelling tools in this movie, between just using the news to progress the story, using social media, uh, especially towards the later part of the movie where it plays a pretty big, it's a pretty big tool. But yeah, so first time you see Paul Dano, as the Riddler. He gets arrested, and he's, they kind of do the rough cop thing where they kind of uh, put his head to the counter, and this is kind of where you start to see the change in the relationship with Batman and the police. Because when the mayor got killed, everybody's like, guys like, you can't come in here. Everybody's like, what are you doing? Why is this guy here? Why are you letting him?
Right.
And then so from outside the diner, there's probably 40, 50 cops, between inside, outside, and Batman steps to the window, and the guys kind of look over, step aside, like, oh, okay, cool. Oh, Batman's here.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it's just he's being accepted now, and then, the Riddler sees Batman, and he just starts smiling. I'm just like, oh my lord, he's so crazy and so creepy.
And he's just fucking lost it, man. He's nuts. Ah! Ah!
That oh my gosh, that scene. Yeah, so let's get to it. So, and then you have the obligatory shot where when they pull out in the coffee mug, they did the barista art of the question mark. So,
If you could keep our audience entertained, I need another cup.
oh, okay,
I need some more of that. A coffee.
the go go juice.
Box. Yeah, I need some go-go juice. This is a long movie because I just realized I'm like, damn, we're going into like the fifth act.
Yeah.
It's only supposed to be 3.
Well, that's why I say it wouldn't. Yeah, like the last scene, it's more like a fourth act instead of a third act.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
all right, so go.
Yeah, I'll be back.
All right, so they arrest Paul Dano, the Riddler, and it's really the first time they actually get to see each other face to face. And if you remember the scene from the trailer, because I for the life of me I did not know what Batman was saying as he was like pounding on the glass, and you kind of like, even like, I watched that trailer probably about 10 times trying to figure out what he was saying. I even watched it with the closed captions on it. The closed captions wouldn't even pick it up. So I was so happy to finally figure out what he was saying. So you actually have him face to face with the Riddler, and you really just get to see the depths of the just absolute insanity that you really realize. Like, it's such a different take from a Riddler. Like I said, you had Jim Carrey, who was over the top and kind of flamboyant and always giggling and almost borderline happy. This guy is terrifying the entire time through. And you know what? I'm gonna jump back once again to the mayor thing. So we were talking about levity. So we were talking about the thumb drive, right? So one of the things with the mayor's death is they're wondering where all this blood came from, because he was kind of beat on the head, but he had his head wrapped in duct tape. So, but they're like, where's this blood coming from? Where the Riddler actually cut his thumb off, so his hand was bleeding. So everybody was like, where's the thumb? So, and that was one of the clues, was with this cipher that the Riddler would give him, it led to the term drive. So when it led them to the mayor's car, and in the mayor's car, the Batman's like, oh, I'm looking for the USB port. And he's like, why are you looking for a USB port? He's like, for the thumb drive, because there's actually a USB thumb drive attached to the thumb of the mayor. So in case anybody says, what's the thumb drive joke, the thumb drive joke is pretty creepy, because he actually attached the thumb of the mayor to a USB drive to the thumb drive, and that was part of the clue, where Batman just goes, thumb drive. And Gordon's like, oh, I hate this. And that was the beginning of the movie. So if that gives you any inkling as to what the Riddler's about, he's a very he's just evil. Not even, he's terrifying all the way through. And it's funny because when they actually see each other face to face, and he starts talking to Batman, and he kind of he actually starts going, Bruce Wayne. He knows who he is, you know. And so you've come to find out that the Riddler was one of the orphans in the orphanage that was supposed to get that Thomas Wayne was supposed to be funding with this renewal program. So he ended up as just an average orphan, but all the orphans that they cared about were the only orphan that they ended up caring about was Bruce Wayne. So
yes, and it should. Sorry, go ahead.
I would say so. He was incredibly jealous that, and that's a big thing. No more lies, no more lies. That was kind of his mantra throughout the entire movie was no more lies. And so, he became obviously very jealous. Where literally Bruce Wayne becomes the poster boy for orphans, where he's like, you're not what being an orphan is. You were in a tower looking down on everybody. I was in a room with 30 other kids getting my fingers, chewed on by rats. And every winter there'd be a baby that died because it's too cold.
That's what an orphan is. That's what he said.
Right.
And it should be noted that this renewal fund was supposed to help Gotham City, but Thomas Wayne was killed, and everybody got a piece of this. All the mob and all the what do you call it? Judges and everybody.
Yeah,
all the politicians wanted a piece of this because it was a charity fund that wasn't really looked at through.
Yeah, it had no
government eyes.
It had no committee oversight, so whoever was in a position could get a piece if they wanted. So I was just getting into the face to face with the Riddler, and I went back and was telling the thumb drive joke.
Right.
Because I forgot we forgot to talk about that, but
try this thumb drive.
Yeah, thumb drive. That's when Gordon goes, "Oh, it's gonna suck."
Yeah. Oh, this guy's hilarious.
He's like, "This whole thing sucks. I hate it." But so and kind of the first time where you just realize like the Riddler is just so terrifying the entire way. And then when you kind of start to see what's making him tick is like, oh, you're a product of the Gotham system. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Another thing that makes him terrifying is that he feels he's doing right for people like him who've been wronged,
right,
or who have been just drugged through the system and gotten fucked over by it. There's nothing scarier than a villain who thinks he's doing the right thing.
Well, those are the scariest, right? The
Right.
ones that don't know they're crazy or don't think they're crazy, but the ones that think they're right.
Exactly.
But yeah, but we get into where he's he starts going Bruce Wayne. So he is it pretty much assumed that he knows who Batman is?
Well, see, that's the weird part. That's what Yes, I was like, oh, okay, he knows who he is, and then he's got that sign on the one of the pictures. I know who you are.
I know. Well, I know the real you.
Yeah, I know the real you. But then he says, "You and I, we work together. We got all of them but one, except for Bruce Wayne."
And that's the thing. That's I didn't get into it. Was he started talking like they were working together?
Yes.
Like he's so twisted where he's like, man, we almost had him. Like the only one we missed was Bruce Wayne, and he's like, we?
Yeah, he's like, well, I couldn't have done this by myself. I don't have the strength. I've got all the knowledge. I got all the pieces, but I couldn't have gone in there and taken him out myself. I mean, I needed you for that. And fucking weird.
Yeah. So, and then, so it comes down to where the Riddler.
You inspired me. That's right. Another thing, you inspired me.
Yeah.
Where did the super villains come from?
Yeah.
This guy starts dressing up like a bat, beating the shit out of Gotham City's criminals, getting involved in police work, and guess what happens? we get a Riddler, we get a Joker, we get a Catwoman. All this stuff happens, and that's what they say, that Batman is responsible for creating the villains in his own town.
Well, yeah. Um, so, but so and then we find out Riddler still has one more trick up his sleeve. He's still got one more surprise for everybody.
And the idea was that he and Batman get locked up in Arkham together, so they can watch it all happen.
So
watch what?
Watch what? He's like, oh, you're not as smart as I thought you were.
Yep.
And then he starts going. Well, oh God, when he's like, no, when Batman starts going, no, we weren't working together, and he starts just going, no. I was like,
he's like,
oh, he just starts losing it. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, this guy's fucking crazy. So why don't you tell the folks at home what the last cruel joke of the Riddler was? Cruel Riddle.
Well, yes. Well, I forget what is the. I forget the riddle.
I don't know if there was a riddle.
No,
he just said that I placed 7 vans around the ski wall, Gotham
City
ski wall.
Yeah, so the last hurrah that they were supposed to watch in Arkham together was basically he was going to drown the city. And so he set up 7 vans all around the seawall. And it's one of those not cool things, but sometimes it's like, oh, you better, is he going to make it in time? He's like, nope, because they start going off.
He starts watching it happen.
Yeah.
From the
yeah, so you start seeing all the vans just start going boosh, 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 boosh. So, and start letting all the water in. And he's got it calculated so well that he knows that the only place of sanctuary is basically the Gotham Square Garden, which happens to be its inauguration night. So the new mayor is, just inaugurated. She's giving her speech. Everybody's down there. And that's when he decided to, that's the time he knew everybody would be downtown. And so that's where he basically built the trap for him. But also there was one thing, this is where the social media comes in. So apparently he was on some weird fringe, they just kind of say, fringe social media platform. And he had 500 followers where, but they couldn't see the last post. And so, and that's the way that when Bruce finds out, or Batman finds out, so the first murder weapon was a carpet tucker, and the way he found that out was through the cop at the beginning, and it's just like, oh, it's weird, that he do something as a carpet, a carpet layer. He's like, what are you talking like?
He looks at him like, what?
It's like, what are you talking about?
My brother-in-law he's a carpet guy.
Yeah, it's a carpet tucker. So, he's in the apartment, so he starts ripping up all the. Sorry, he starts
ripping up. If you look at the apartment too, there's this very specific area where there's carpet. The rest is a wood floor.
Yeah, so when he rips up the carpet, that's a map of the entire city with blinking lights of where all the vans are. And underneath the carpet, it also says what is a real change.
Yeah, real change.
A real change. And so that ends up being the password into his social media. So that's where, he actually gets to see the post. And
he's telling his followers to show up with guns.
I say, and you can see the social media post, and the guy's like, oh, rifles are a good idea, yada, yada, yada. But he already knows he's going to be captured, so he can't do it. So I forget, I thought it was going to be more. I thought it was going to be like, are they going to have 500 of his followers show up and like
Well,
do
he
whatever.
had 500 followers, but only like maybe 25 showed up.
Well, I say I was like a dozen or a couple dozen ended up showing up. So anyway, so the city's flooding. The city's flooding. You know, we get and it goes just like you said, like you thought it would. Everybody's got to go to. They're funneling everybody to the Gotham Square Garden, and that's where the new mayor, who was it Bella Real?
Yep.
She just got elected. She's trying to get, they're Gordon's trying to get her out of there. She's like, we got to get you out of here. She's like, no, that's the problem with the city, is everybody wants to run away from the problems and blah 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 blah. So she immediately runs to the podium and trying to get people's attention and trying to get people in order. And she looks up and she sees a guy with a rifle, and he shoots her right in the stomach, and that's when all hell really breaks loose. Is they start taking pot shots at all the citizens, but then the skylight just explodes with such a badass entrance.
Yes, and here comes the Batman.
So,
what you drinking there?
this is just water. This is my water bottle thing I got from the Lion King when we went the other weekend.
Oh, nice.
Nothing fancy, just water. So, but anyway, so Batman starts doing battle with the I don't know what we want to call them, with the fake Riddlers, the wannabe Riddlers, who are just loaded to the gills with guns and rounds for days. So,
I mean, yeah, they have like one of them has like this stand up wall just full of bullets.
I was like, holy moly! I was like, oh, these guys are serious. So, they start just shooting into the crowd. Batman's trying to take them out. Starts taking them out one by one by one, but eventually, he gets kind of overwhelmed a little bit. Oh, and that's where he gets double barrel to the gut, and I guess that's one of the nice things about where he goes, oh, it didn't kill him, but he's out of it. So
yeah, he got knocked out, kind of thing.
Yeah, so and then that's where he was hanging, and then Catwoman shows up at the last seconds to grab him. And this is another one where I'm like, did she just lift him up?
It looked like she struggled though.
She struggled, but I was like,
and he had to pull himself too a bit.
I was like, did she just pull him off the cliff? I was like, well, we'll discuss that later. But anyway, so she saves him, and then she starts fighting some of the guys, and he kind of sees that she's not faring terribly well. She's a good fighter, but she can only handle so many.
Right.
And then he pulls his, and this is one thing that when we were talking with Josh after the movie, we were like, he pulls out a little vial of this green stuff.
And it seems to have a place where he shoots it up.
I say, and it clearly had a port where it was meant to go, and he, as soon as he hits the port, injects it into his body. I just thought it was adrenaline, and then on the second viewing, I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, it was actually that viewing that night. I thought, wait, that was green.
That was
big.
That was very green, and it was specifically designed because after he injected himself, he literally just went.
Yes, he popped up. Rah! Yeah,
and that's one of the things I love too, because he just went just like machine gunning this guy's head, and I was like, holy moly! And that's
I
where
think it's safe to say that was Venom.
I hope it's Venom. I'll say that. I hope it's Venom.
Yeah,
but
I do and I don't.
Yeah,
I do not want to see Bane in any of these movies unless they get to like number 5.
Yeah,
I don't want to see Bane. I don't want to see him. You never do him right anyway.
Yeah, but anyway, so we get to, finally Gordon and everybody pulls Batman off this last guy because everybody, this is the last guy. So, and then they pull his mask and everything off, and he's a guy from earlier in the funeral scene. He kind of just mentioned, you see him for like a minute.
He was the one that was like, didn't have any justice for my daughter, or anything like that, right?
Yeah. So, and I forget. He's like, who are you? And he's like, I'm Vengeance. And it's like, oh, I like how you played that one there, guys. So
So why do you think he said that?
because I think they thought they were vengeance against the system. You know,
Right.
Batman thinks he's vengeance against against the crime, where they're vengeance against the system.
Yeah.
So, which
I was watching
I thought that was a nice little play on words there.
I was watching a movie reviewer today whom I respect. I'm not going to name his name, but on YouTube, and he's like, so like the Batman is an idea, but his name is Vengeance in this movie. I was like, what? Because you totally fucking missed the whole.
What?
They were being sarcastic when they called him that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hey, Vengeance. That'd be like you or me talking to each other and being like, hey, yellow shirt,
Yeah.
or hey, Punisher shirt.
Right. No,
And he's like, so they call him Vengeance. Like,
well, yeah, at the beginning, and that's kind of the thing too. So, all right, so, and that's where I really like. There's actual growth in this movie because, okay, so evil's defeated, but there's still we're still trying to. There's still people that need help. There's so that the stage and the podium and everything's collapsed, from all the fighting that's going on, and Batman goes and starts throwing some of the debris away, and he reaches his hand out, and you can see the mayor and people are not taking his hand. The first person to take his hand was the mayor's son, who was there to be in solidarity with the new mayor and everything. So that was kind of a nice way to have them there. And the first one to take his hand and say, "I trust you," was the mayor's son. And then after that, people started letting the Batman help them.
He pulls out a flare and he starts leading them out of the water.
Yep, and they have a nice overtop shot where you can see him literally leading people to safety, and then they have a shot which is reminiscent from Hurricane Katrina from the top of the Superdome, where they're have people that they're helicoptering off the top of the stadium to safety, and yeah, it's just a nice scene where he's being allowed, they're trusting him to actually help the city and not they're not scared of him so much anymore.
And they're not trying to arrest him. The FBI is not going after him. He's on TV.
Yeah,
they're talking about some mass vigilante making a difference, and he's saying in his internal monologue, folks. Internal monologue we get. I mean, he's it's narration, of course, but it's what he writes down later in his journals. But this is like the first Batman movie with an internal monologue, and he's talking
and it
about
works.
And it really works. He's talking about how he had to be vengeance, but he understands the error of that ways and how it doesn't work and how he needs to become something more. And they show him in broad daylight in the morning, helping people and not rebuild, but dig out of the wasteland.
Yeah, and that was one of the things we brought up. So going forward, we actually have a Gotham in worse shape than we did at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
So when they when they pick up the next movie, it's going to be interesting the state of which Gotham's actually at.
So if they pick up with the next movie, do you want to see Gotham underwater, or do you want to see the water part solved and the city in worse shape?
I'd like to see. I don't want it to pick up like split second right after. I'd like to see. Right. Hey, it's been a few weeks. There's still parts of the city underwater. But since all the municipality services are helped with getting the city back in order, crime is just rampant. There's crime all over the place. You have the really cool scene of the Penguin at the end, kind of going, hey, he sees that there's an opening, and then you actually have a scene with the Riddler talking to his cell neighbor there, and they actually did release who the cell neighbor is, and I don't think you have to be a genius as to who everybody's saying it is.
Wasn't it the guy who played Gruig?
Yeah, it's Barry Cohagen.
Yeah,
they have him as unseen Arkham prisoner, but everybody knows who that prisoner was.
It's the Joker.
It's the Joker.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Which you think of Joker in The Long Halloween, man. He was scary.
I for not being the biggest fan of the Eternals, he was probably one of the better parts. I liked him and Kingo, but I really liked his portrayal.
Yeah.
I think he's a good actor. But
Interesting choice for Joker.
yeah, but anytime you saddle anybody with the role of the Joker, I mean, you get so much scrutiny. So
Yeah, I'm just interested to see. I'll tell you what, I didn't scrutinize Jared Leto as the Joker at all. I was like, this is gonna be awesome. And I was like,
damn it,
man, this wasn't awesome at
that
all.
was that was an awesome. I thought it was gonna be.
It was a lot like Lex Luthor. It looked good on paper.
Yeah,
It's not executed well.
yeah, but yeah. So I'm excited to see. Oh, I forgot. So they have a scene where him and the Catwoman are Batman and Catwoman are riding or not bicycles, motorcycles, pedaling away. They got motorcycle scene at the end. She's like, I might, she tries to get him to go with him. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
But she takes
he's already
out.
married.
Yeah, he's like, you're already taken.
And she looks at the bad signal.
Yeah. So she said she might go to Bloodhaven. That'd be cool if they picked up with her at Bloodhaven. And they wouldn't. They can't do Nightwing yet, but anyway.
Yeah, Nightwing yet, man. What are you doing there? What are you doing?
That's a little soon.
And everybody knows that Nick Mott's directing the second movie, and he's got some ideas on how to fuck it up.
Let's go Nightwing.
That's how they, let's bring in another director. Oh, good.
Oh, goody. What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, what's the
Rian Johnson?
Yeah. So Batman's got a pal called Batmite.
No, but seriously, so I'm excited. Obviously, I think what's on IMDb, unless it's changed within the last hour or so, it's got an 8.6 on IMDb. That's pretty freaking high.
Yeah, this is a fucking good movie, and I just wish that I had it to play in the background while I'm, painting or, constructing doing my hobbies. I wished it was there this morning and considered going to see it today, but
yeah, my buddy's like, hey, if the wife doesn't go, you want to go see it Monday? I was like, oh yeah, I do.
Yes, I
Nothing
do.
going on. I was like, yes, I do. So, yeah, it's a freaking masterpiece. It really is. And
So,
I'm excited to see what they got cooking for the next one. So
I think he'd be good with a Robin.
I would, if they do like a trilogy thing, I'd like to see him. Yeah, bring one in the third movie there.
Well, that's the thing too, because there was so much Long Halloween elements in this. I mean, the first line Batman says in the movie is, "It's October 31st." You know what I mean?
Well,
and that's
and that was one of the nice because, getting back to some of the stuff. So you really see him, hey, it's October 31st. By the end of the movie, it's November 6th. It's been a hell of a week.
right.
And you really see, he's journaling everything. He's writing everything down. And that was really cool to see.
But the sequel comic book, which is great, it shows the making of Two-Face and the creation of Robin, is called Batman Dark Victory, and it's by the same two artists and writers as The Long Halloween. So The Long Halloween has a sequel called Dark Victory, which I almost like better. But
yeah, well, but also like interviews with Robert Pattinson said he would like to do Quarter Bowels, which I would damn near give a testicle to see Quarter Bowels done in movies.
like, I was gonna go see it right now.
Yeah, it's like you say that, be like, oh, we're gonna tackle the Quarter Bowels in the next two movies. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. The Court of Owls.
But
What's the Court of Owls rhyme? Do you know it? Do you remember it or
no?
Let's look it up. Court of Owls rhyme. It's
So,
awesome.
but anyway,
I'm gonna say it on the
that's
show.
fine.
You know what I'm saying? All right. Yeah. Is that all right with you?
No, it's fine.
I'm kidding.
Do what you want.
I probably spelled Remy. Yep. Okay. I'm gonna send it to you too. All right. The Court of Owls rhyme. We are the owls of this city, ruling behind our masks. We kill those unworthy, those made of glass. Our talons are everywhere. They watch and they wait. If the court judges you unworthy, your life is ours to take. We feel no guilt or pain. We do what needs to be done. Beware the Court of Owls, for our reign has begun.
Nice.
Yeah.
So,
And then here's the original one. Beware the Court of Owls that watches all the time, ruling Gotham from the shadow perch behind the granite and the lime. They watch you at your hearth. They watch you in your bed. Speak not a whisper word of them, or they'll send the talon for your head.
there you go. So that's strictly obviously speculation, but I'd love to see them do the Court of Owls. But honestly, I think obviously we're gonna get the Joker. It's gonna be, I'm gonna guess, Penguin Joker heavy for the next movie.
I don't know what to think. I'm just this is just so new. Really, what I want is just to have this on Blu-ray and
Yeah, I
keep
just
watching this.
Yeah, I want a director's track. I want to sit and hear exactly what Matt Reeves. I'm not done digging into this one. So speculating is it's almost I don't care that much because I'm still involved with this movie and still picking it apart. So
Right, you should check out that cast interview now.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yep. So, but all right, Adam, we're over 2 hours, so I think we should wrap it up here.
All right.
So, I just do want to thank everybody for you guys' support. You guys have been amazing. Thank you so much. We are I'm literally just waiting just to pull the trigger on who is going to do our t-shirts at this point. It's not an if, it's just going to be a win. So
You don't kill the guy.
Huh?
Don't kill the guy.
I'm not killing anybody, but I
You
just
said I'm gonna pull the trigger.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Sorry, but decisions need to be made, but we are going to have t-shirts, so if you want to support the show that way, another way if you want to support the show is obviously just giving us a like and subscribe.
And share us on your social medias.
Yes, share us on social media because we are on let's see here. So we are on the Facebooks and the Instagrams. So we are at the Escape Podcast on Facebook and we are at the _Escape _podcast on Instagram. And
Yes, sir.
if you anybody knows how YouTube works, we need as many subscriptions and likes and shares. And if you like the show, please like and subscribe and share. So and tell your
we love
friends.
you guys. We're happy to be doing this, and thank you for those of you who have tuned in and liked our show and shared our show and been here on the journey with us. Can't thank you enough.
It's been a lot of fun. So and in the comments section or on social media, let us know what you guys thought of the movie. Do we have stupid takes, or do you think we're right on? Let us know, because I'll interact with you. I'll talk to you. I don't care. I got spare time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But other than that, Adam, I think it's unless you have any closing thoughts.
I'm blown away by this movie, The Batman. So I'm very happy.
So on this count, we're gonna do the happy dance. Good night, America.